Hey guys, this is Andrew Jones for another Artcast. This is episode 38, and I am painting an Aliens piece right here. I actually did this back in April for Aliens Day, which is April 26th, which is stands for 426, which is 426 is the name of the planet where they originally discovered the aliens, LV-426. So yes, I'm a huge nerd. So I did this as a bigger piece. I think this is 11 by 14, 11 by 17. I can't remember. And it took a few days to do, so I didn't get it done for the Alien Day. But I wanted to do something a little bigger, do something with some acrylic paint, some airbrush, something that had a little bit of everything. So here I am just using a mechanical pencil to do the rough pencils. This is just I think this is a hot press illustration board. I don't know if I even gessoed this one or not. I may have, I don't remember. And this video actually is, I think it's only 14 minutes. This entire piece took several hours, and just in going back and putting in the video clips together, you'll see a bunch of places where I just kind of skip ahead, because I feel like a lot of it is just kind of the same redundant stuff. I don't know if anybody really wants to watch that. I want to try to keep my videos a little shorter. So, any places where there might be a pause for when I sharpen a pencil or mix paints or do something like that, I may just skip it just to kind of keep the pace going. And these are sped up to 700% normal speed, which is pretty fast. And I'm just kind of playing around with speed of the video, and just in terms of how long people want to sit and watch it versus how much good you can actually get out of seeing the art come together really quickly. The whole time I was drawing and painting this, I was either listening to the Aliens soundtrack or having the movie on in the background. I think the James Cameron Aliens is pretty close to a perfect movie. I think it's just like endlessly rewatchable, especially the director's cut, which has it has some extra scenes that I think actually make the movie better, make things make a little bit more sense too. I don't know that I needed so much detail in the pencil stage. I think at this point I'm just trying to figure out that balance between the fidelity of the underlying sketch and how much I want to do in the actual painting. And I normally don't work on things this big either, so the only other big thing I'd done, which was way bigger than this, was the movie poster that I'd done a few months ago, and that was on a giant movie-sized illustration board. And again, I was just, a lot of the reason I did that one was a situation came up where I knew somebody who had an independent movie that needed a poster, and I wanted to do a poster. I really want to do more stuff like this, but I think I'm going to keep it stuff like this, unless it's a commission and somebody wants a poster size. I'm going to keep it this size because I can only scan 13 by 19 on my scanner, so I can still do 11 by 14 or 11 by 17 pieces and still scan them in one pass on the scanner. Doing that full-size poster was just a total nightmare, trying to get it well, I couldn't scan it. Any place that I could scan it that big, they wanted over $100 to do the scan. And then I ended up having to take multiple pictures of it in multiple passes and stitch them all together in Photoshop, and it lost a lot of detail from the original drawing. So I'm definitely, if I'm commissioned to do something that big again, I'll definitely get the extra money for it and have it scanned professionally. Here is just laying down an acrylic glaze, which is basically just some blue acrylic paint watered way, way, way down. And before this step, I'd actually sprayed the pencils with some, I think it's workable fixative, just so that the pencil lines wouldn't smudge when I started doing this, because it's a lot of water on top of it. And here's some more, just kind of blocking in like a base layer of acrylic paint. It's still watered way down, so you can still see the pencil lines underneath. But this is just kind of blocking in the base color for the alien, leaving some places open that I think are going to be have a little bit more light hitting them. And this piece was a little easier to sort of kind of get into, doing this kind of painting on this kind of size, because it's such a monochromatic painting. I mean, it's mostly just shades of blue. The background is going to be really dark. The creature is basically one color with highlights on it. So it was easier to not really have to worry about color too much and figure out, just the blocking of it. And I'd never really hadn't really worked with acrylics a whole lot. I use them in my airbrush, which I use a little bit. But I just recently bought a DVD by a fantasy artist called Jeff Miracola. And he does mostly acrylic stuff. So I'm using, a few things that I learned from him. It is, if you haven't seen it, and I'll try to remember to link it in the notes, but his DVD set is basically him going start to finish on a piece of fantasy art, and just kind of sharing tips and tricks and tools that he uses and that kind of thing. It was really super helpful. In fact, I need to go back and absorb some more of it, I think. Here, I'm using my airbrush to start putting in some of the dark shadows. And that mask that you see around it is basically, I just scanned the progress that I had, printed it on 11 by 17 paper, and then cut out the mask around that so that I could not have a lot of bleed over into the background. The problem with this was it's just very thin copy paper, basically. And I tried to get it stuck down to the painting as best I could to where I could still be able to get it off. But you can see the air from the airbrush is just making it blow all over the place. It worked out okay, but I think in the future I've got to look into other ways to mask for airbrushing, whether it's some kind of film that I can put over it that'll stick better. I just haven't really gotten too much into that. It worked for this, but I don't want to do it this way too many times. Here I'm putting in some of the white highlights on the alien's head. And this was a struggle with the airbrush. I'm still trying to learn it, but the airbrush that I bought, the kit that I bought, was definitely not a quality purchase. I think I got the whole kit with the airbrush and the compressor and everything for like $200 or less. The compressor's already acting up. The airbrush just, it clogs and has all kinds of problems. And I try to do my best to clean it and all that, but I'm just convinced at this point I just bought inferior equipment. So hopefully, if I get to do more airbrush stuff, then I can justify buying a more expensive one, like a Iwata or something like that. Here I actually started going in with a black colored pencil to do some of the details, and I realized that I probably was doing that a little too soon. And here in a minute, I'm going to switch to just laying in more dark paint first, so I can get all of that in there, and then I can see where I need to sharpen things up with a pencil instead of the other way around. And this kind of stuff is scary to me too, because I'm just not used to the materials. I'm still not used to painting on the surface. I'm still not used to using acrylics. And you can see how it kind of goes on super dark, and then it kind of dries to a lighter matte color. And so when I first started diving into this, I wasn't sure I was doing the right thing, but I think it's working at this point. And the background is actually a lot darker in the real piece, but with the lights and everything, it's hard to tell. I'm still trying to figure out my camera setup as well. All of this was shot on a GoPro, kind of suspended over my drafting table, and it does okay. It shoots 1080p, and then I actually do the videos in 720. That way I can get a bigger picture. Like it's almost like I was able to zoom in, and I can pan around and do different things in the frame and not be stuck to exactly what I shot. So in that regard, it's good, but I definitely think it could be a sharper detail. So I'm thinking about ways that I can get a better picture, a better capture from either the GoPro or maybe use my iPhone some more. Just using some white acrylic paint to do some of these highlights. And that little pan there, that's the advantage of shooting bigger than I'm actually going to edit, because I can move things around like that. I definitely didn't get the detail on some of these things, like the tail and everything, that I wanted to, but there comes a time with these things where you just kind of want it to be done. And I love these little highlighty areas. I think it's the most fun part of the painting. That's where things really start jumping out. And there's a few other steps that kind of got skipped here, but they weren't really too important. And there's the finished piece. This is the piece that the version that I scanned, and you'll see I actually added some splatter and some other things after I stopped recording. I went back and touched up a few things, and I'm really happy with this piece. As I put this together, it is still for sale. There'll be a link in the show notes. And thanks for watching, guys. More soon.